Hey everybody, I am sitting in our golf cart just trying to shield myself from the sun. I don't even know why I'm not inside doing this, but anyway, in the last segment I showed you the outdoor living space, and I kind of reminded myself that we have the generator, and I should talk to you about what it was like to go through Hurricane Irma in our first year of this lifestyle. So I thought I'd just go ahead and do that because, you know, the older you get, the easier it is to forget things. So we were at another campground at that time, and when we moved in there, that was our first place to go. They said, "Oh, there hasn't been a hurricane here in like 15 years. Don't even worry about hurricanes." And so we thought, well, that's either going to be true or we're going to have really bad luck our first year. And sure enough, we had really bad luck, and Hurricane Irma was headed right for us. So everybody in the campground was going through the decision-making process of, you know, do we just leave our camper here and just evacuate and go somewhere else in our car or our truck, or do we pull our camper? And everybody had different thoughts and ideas, and it was getting really confusing. And so we decided that since this is our home, we have no other place to go, and it was new, it was brand new. And so we thought, well, we're going to just pull it. And I was able to secure a campsite at a KOA in South Georgia. And so we hit the road. And if I tell you that the traffic was insane, I am understating what it was like. It was insane beyond. And everybody's trying to get out of Florida at the same time. And the bad news for Eddie is that he's doing the driving, and he's driving his truck that has a standard transmission. So in slow traffic, he's using the clutch constantly. So you can only imagine how his foot and leg and knee and everything felt after that really long journey. I don't know how long it took us to get there. I can't even remember, but it was crazy how long it took. But when we got there, it was a nice place. There were a lot of people doing the same thing, and so we were all kind of in the same boat. And we hung out there for a couple of days before the storm was progressing. Now, I don't know how much you paid attention to Hurricane Irma or what was going on at that time, but at a certain point we realized that even though Irma was not as powerful and strong as it was down in the south part of Florida, it was headed right toward us in South Georgia. And so here we are, another decision-making point. Do we get on the road now? And now this time we don't know where we would go, because you don't know which direction to head because the storm was turning. And do we get on the road and take our chances there, or do we just sit here and ride it out knowing that it's not as powerful? And we met some really nice people who we are still friends with today. It's amazing. And they decided to get on the road, as did, I would say, half of that campground. But the rest of us decided to stay. And my feeling of why it was okay to stay was because the campground actually had a building that they said could sustain up to about 120-mile-an-hour winds. If we needed to go in this building, we could. And so I thought that was good. And Eddie, we just came to that decision together. And luckily, he and I are pretty good about agreeing on things. We don't really have too much problem with that. So we both agreed that it was best to stay. So then it's just time to wait, you know, because that's the thing about hurricanes. You have so much time to prepare, and then you just wait for them to get here. And so the storms started coming, and the winds were blowing pretty hard, and the three of us, meaning Eddie, me, and Chucky, our chocolate lab, were in the camper. And I swear that at a certain point, the wind started blowing so hard, and it made kind of rocking. Our camper was starting to rock, and Chucky looked up, and I looked up, and Eddie looked up, and one of us said, I think it was Eddie, said, "Let's go." So we got the dog, and we got into a I would call it a mini hurricane, just trying to get from the camper to this building, which was not very far, but the wind was so strong that we were pushing so hard just to walk to get to this building. And then we we spent probably, I don't know, 3 or so hours there, and you could actually feel when the eye of the hurricane went through, because it calmed down, but then it started up again. And it was kind of scary, I'm not gonna lie. That building seemed like it was really strong, but the walls were blowing so much and it was making so much noise that I wasn't really enjoying it at all. But you know, we were only in there with about 6 other people. Everybody else stayed in their campers, which was amazing to me. So we were the ones that were scared and went into the building. But anyway, when it stopped, then we went back outside, and we were pleasantly surprised to see that all the campers were intact. And you know, there were some down trees and power lines and things, and oop, here comes a big old bus coming in the campgrounds, or into this RV resort. So let me just show you that real quick. So that's the kind of daily entertainment you get to see when people come in and out of these parks. There's some really, really beautiful buses that come in here. Okay, so the storm was over. There really wasn't that much damage, and so then we just waited it out for a couple of days because we didn't want to get back in that traffic again, going back down south. And so when we contacted our campground where we were, they had sustained a lot of damage, and there was a lot of flooding and a lot of trees down, and so it was closed. So guess what? Now we're homeless. We have no idea where we're going to go, and both of us have jobs. We were working and we needed to get back to work, and so that's when panic started to set in for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? We don't have anywhere to go. Well, it turns out some friends told us that there was an RV park right across the street, actually, from where we were living, and I would have never ever thought that they would have not had damage, but they were fine. So it shows you the spotty way that the damage occurs, and they were so kind, and they took us all in, and they had plenty of room for us, and so we were virtually all over here in this other campground waiting, and it was weeks before the original campground was even opened again, or reopened. Sorry. And so we ended up loving this park so much better than our original one that we asked if we could stay here, and we were lucky enough. They had one site open up, and so we've been here ever since. So that's, oh, and so the one conclusion that Eddie and I came to after all of this, living through this, was that if a hurricane would come again, we would just leave the camper here. We wouldn't go through all of that pulling. Well, we've sold our truck in the meantime, so we don't even have that luxury anymore. But if we still had the truck, we still would not pull it. We would just leave it here and hope for the best. It's insured, and you know, because a lot of campers were fine, and it was really too much to pull it that far. Okay, so that's our Hurricane Irma story, and I hope I don't have another one of those stories to tell you in the future. Okay, talk to you later. Thanks for listening. Bye.